I'm not going to insult your intelligence by asking if you've ever been bored. What I'd rather ask you is, why do you get bored? Is it really good for you? And as an artist, if that's true, how do I take advantage of that? How do I make boredom my best friend? Let's get into it. Boredom, boredom, boredom. That feeling of not knowing what to do can be so paralyzing. You'll often hear somebody telling you, "Oh, why don't you draw then if you're bored?" Question is, what happens when you're bored of drawing? How do you solve that? See, I believe that for every effect, there's a cause. There's a reason. Something can come from nothing. There's always a reason why you end up where you are, even if it isn't entirely because of your decisions. Like the things you can't control. Now, you can't control getting bored, but you can figure out why it happens. So let's look at the why. Why do you get bored? I went over to ChatGPT and it cited reliable sources like Time Magazine, National Geographic, and Psychology Today. And with their studies of the phenomenon of boredom, I found 5 reasons why it happens. Number 1, monotony or understimulation. Boredom arises when tasks lack novelty or challenge. For example, predictable routines fail to fully satisfy or stimulate individuals. Number 2, skill-challenge mismatch. Boredom signals when a task is either too easy or too hard to engage your brain. It's telling you that what you're doing isn't working. Number 3, lack of meaning or purpose. When activities feel meaningless, they fail to hold attention, triggering boredom. And number 4, attention fatigue, need for default mode. After intense focus, the mind needs downtime. The default mode network kicks in, consolidating ideas and letting thoughts wander. Looking at this list so far, I believe it's important to start asking yourself questions, seeing if you can identify with any of the root causes of your boredom. And as an artist, the questions I believe you need to ask yourself are, is what I'm doing not challenging? Maybe you only draw portraits or only figures, and maybe you know how to do it well, or even conservatively. Is it possible that you are afraid of trying something out of your comfort zone? Or maybe it's the extreme opposite, right? Which is my next main question. Am I taking on something too challenging for me? Maybe you're rushing to get good at concepts you don't understand at a fundamental level. And look, I can confess, I have done the same thing. And I mean, I get it. You want to be as good as the people who inspire you to draw, and you want to make art as good as what you see. It makes complete sense. But I had to take a moment to reflect and question myself as to why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing. What is my true intention when wanting to master my craft? Which leads very well into the next question, which is, do I lack a meaningful reason to draw? Now let me be clear, I'm not talking about a reason so deep and profound that it's gonna change the way we understand the universe. I mean, can it do that? I don't know, it's not impossible, but I'm just talking about enough of a reason to wake up in the morning and do it, or wake up every day to do it, or almost every day. Because if it doesn't, then why would that be the case? What may have changed over time? And you might tell me, "Oh, Taba, I'm older now. I have a busy life. My time for it has passed. I outgrew it." But if what you're saying is the basis of truth, then there would be nobody in their senior years still working in art and being very good at it too, mind you. In fact, there are artists who only started drawing when they were older and not when they were younger. So what could it really be? I'll leave you to answer that, because only you can. The next question worth asking is, am I working too hard? Have you bought into the lie of the 10,000 plus hours rule? Because here's the truth. It doesn't matter how much time you spend doing a thing if you're not doing it right, if you don't know what you're doing. If you have the wrong system in place, then you will never see the results that you desire. It's impossible. We call that insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Like, if you're not actively taking inventory of where your weaknesses are and looking for ways to improve on that, then you're not going to improve at all. And now you spend all these hours putting pressure on yourself to the point that you get burnt out and are no longer motivated to do the thing that you love, which is draw. So ask yourself if you're working too hard. But hey, maybe it's none of those reasons. Maybe the question that you need to ask yourself is, am I desiring to do something different? See, the reason that I ask these questions is not to condemn you, it's not to guilt trip you. I want you to get out of the paralysis state and draw and improve like you never have before. I'm rooting for you. It's when we can identify the root cause that we can take the necessary actions to prevent it from happening again. Because it's not necessarily boredom. You're always going to get bored. That's something you can't control. But you can influence how often that happens by the habits that you practice. So it would serve us to change our habits, but what if there was something else we had to change? What if we also had to change our perception of boredom? Because maybe the problem isn't necessarily boredom, but the way we perceive it. Which brings me to the fifth reason that people get bored. A biological signal to explore. Boredom is like emotional pain, a call to do something different. And so I ask you again, could you be desiring to do something different? Could it just be that you are tired of hitting a brick wall? Because even if you go back to the root causes and the questions that we've covered, it all boils down to a natural response of doing the same thing with a desire to do something else. And that's why I keep saying, you will never not get bored, but you can reduce how often it happens. And you absolutely will when you understand that boredom is the signal that it's time to do something different. And I don't mean stop drawing, no. But what about drawing something different? Have you ever tried drawing an animal, just as an example? I'm sure you can list every single thing that you've never drawn before and figure that out yourself. And yeah, maybe something different for you is leaving the house and going for a walk. You're most likely to find something random and yet inspiring to draw that you never thought of doing before. Something that catches your eye. You know, having different hobbies and activities gives the opportunity to learn new things and spark new ideas. Things that you never imagined or expected. And even if you're not able to express these new ideas very well, even if you don't draw these new ideas or concepts very well, your inner artist will appreciate the breath of fresh air that it's receiving from doing something different. Like, I drew my mouse, I drew my cell phone, I drew a spoon, I drew a sharpener, I drew a little plastic paint can. It's not about making the best looking drawings all the time. You learn from your mistakes. Your mistakes don't define you. I love this quote that I read recently, which is allegedly from Howard Ikemoto, and it says, "Don't learn to draw, but draw to learn." Gonzaga says, "When you draw to learn, you love to draw. For the love of drawing is hidden in the process." Even the masters that I follow echo the same philosophy. In fact, they still call themselves students. And I know I'll forever see myself as a student. So don't be afraid to do something different. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Sometimes slowing down is the challenge, and taking things one step at a time. It's important to acknowledge where you currently are with your art skills and yield to the path that's gonna get you there, no matter how long it takes. And that reminds me of a passage in a book called Ecclesiastes, and it's in chapter 3 where it writes that we have eternity written in our hearts. It suggests to me this never-ending desire of becoming and growing. And so There's really no getting there when it's all said and done. There's always just the opportunity for us to grow and to become better. And it doesn't mean you're not going to change or improve. It just means maybe the focus shouldn't be getting there, but just enjoying the process of it all. And you'll be surprised at the art you start to create that come from a seemingly unexpected place or source of inspiration. Now you may have to go over this video again to note down whatever you felt resonated with you the most, just to keep in mind when boredom strikes again. But remember that boredom is your body's way of saying, I want to do something different. It's the opportunity to overcome, to explore, and become a greater artist, to open your mind to new ideas. And that's why boredom is an artist's best friend. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.